Well, hi there, everybody. How are you all doing today? Yeah, you all laughed at me, didn't you? You all laughed at me last year when I made an entire video on trees in the One Piece world. Everybody was like, Tekking, really? Is this the best use of your time? You could be making videos about anything else, but you dedicated like a 20 or 30-minute video, I can't remember how long it was, all about trees in the One Piece world, yeah? Yeah, well, who's laughing now, huh? Because one of the strongest characters in the entire story has just showed up, and he has the power of trees. I'm the one laughing. That's who. I also still have my awesome jacket, so you cannot compete! Okay. Also, everything's green in here, which, that's cool. Hey, you know what's funny? We don't even know what Green Bull's favorite color is. You know, you would assume it's green because he's Green Bull and he has the power of the forest fruit, but who knows? His favorite color could be blue. You just don't know. In fact, it would be funny if all of the Admiral's favorite colors were not the corresponding colors of their devil fruits. That'd be hilarious. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about the brand new devil fruit that was revealed in the last chapter, chapter 1054. We kind of had an idea for a while, though, that Green Bull had some ability to do with nature, so that was, you know, confirmed by Oda. He has the power of the Mori Mori no Mi, or the forest fruit. And, you know, before we even get into discussing what he can do with it, and his character and everything like that, I just want to bring up that I love the kanji for forest, okay? I'm really a big fan of any kanji that just takes a bunch of other kanji and, like, stacks them together. Okay, so this is the kanji for just tree, which is ki, tree, and then the kanji for forest is you just take 3 trees and stack them together to make mori, or forest. There it is, right? Also, it was mentioned by, I have a few comments here to bring up. It was mentioned by Vespid during the review that Mori can also mean death in Latin, which is kind of fitting given the fact that, like, his fruit is the ability to give life, you know, to plant life, you know, wherever he goes. But he's also, like, sort of like a Grim Reaper in a sense, where he's just going around and just admitting that he can slaughter everybody in Wano and he just does not care. Okay, so, like, the life fruit or the death fruit or the tree fruit, I mean, they all kind of apply in one way or another to Green Bull. Another comment I want to read, and I didn't know about this beforehand because this is a running theme with all of the Admirals. If you look at the Admirals and their devil fruit abilities, their personalities never match, which is kind of the whole point that Oda's trying to go ahead here. I guess the idea that, like, you know, just because you have, like, Aokiji, for instance, just because Aokiji has the ability to freeze everything does not mean he's a cold-hearted individual. He's actually very warm-hearted in that regard. He's very kind out of all of the Admirals, right? And then we have Akainu, who has a very hot ability because Akainu's very hot, as we all know. Oh, by the way, this is completely irrelevant. Okay, we're part of Undead Unluck now. But no, I have to bring this up because this was just one of those random thoughts that popped into my head last night, as it is. Okay, if you look at all, like, the main villains of One Piece, like Eneru and, you know, Rob Lucci, Doflamingo, they're all dudes that have, like, a ripped, like, you know, 12-pack of, like, abs, right? And so, like, even Kaido is this big, giant, ripped dude, okay? And then we have Blackbeard, who's, like, the main antagonist of the whole story, and he's got, like, just this giant dad bod, okay? Completely unrelated to the video. I just wanted to bring that up because I was thinking about that last night. I was, like, watching the episode when Ace fought against Blackbeard, and Blackbeard just has, like, this massive beer gut, and I'm just like, that's so funny that that's the guy. Meanwhile, Eneru has, like, the 14-pack of abs, and he's just like, I am indestructible, you know what I mean? I just love that. Anyway, so, where do we leave off? I don't even know. Akainu, you know, he has the magma fruit, but he's very cold-hearted, and then we have Kizaru, who can move at the speed of light, but he talks very slowly, and he's probably high, like, 99% of the time, and then we have Fujitora, who has the power of gravity, which, honestly, if you were going to take Fujitora and Green Bull's devil fruits and switch them so that Green Bull had the gravity fruit and Fujitora had the forest fruit, that would actually make a lot more sense just given their personalities, and it would fit more in line with, like, I don't know, regular themes you would see in anime or manga or whatever. But, you know, in this case, Fujitora has the power to, like, put pressure on and, like, oppress people, and meanwhile, you know, he's a very nice person that doesn't want to oppress others, okay? So there was a few people that brought that up, but I got this comment from isekai'd here, so thank you to that person. But yeah, and then we, of course, have Green Bull, who has the power to give life, and yet he just wants to kind of, like, follow in line with the Tenryubito, and if the Tenryubito tell him to, like, wipe out an entire island, like, he would do that with gusto, okay? And that's the difference you got to look at between Akainu and between Green Bull, because there are a lot of similarities, because at the end of the day, Green Bull kind of wants to be just like Akainu, and he's seeking his approval. But if you go back and look at the scene in Ohara, way back in Robin's backstory, okay, when Akainu was there as a vice admiral and he gave the order to sink the evacuation ship, he gave the order, but he did not give it with, like, you can tell he wasn't, like, super happy. He wasn't like, yeah, burn that evacuation vessel to the ground. Yeah, that's the way to do it. No, he gave the order in a very military kind of just setting. He's just like, there could be an escaped scholar on that boat. We must eliminate any possibility for the world government. He was just thinking in a very pragmatic sort of way, still really messed up, but that kind of follows in line with his absolute justice. Now, if Green Bull was the one that gave that order back at Ohara, he would do it with actual zeal. He would do it with, like, we have to do that because if we destroy that ship, then Akainu might, give me his approval or something. So in that context, I would definitely say Green Bull is more terrifying, and even more so given his devil fruit. So something that is interesting is that his devil fruit is actually a Logia, which is not something that, I'm sure a lot of people, theorize that it could be, because if it is the power of nature that goes along with the idea of a Logia, it takes some kind of element. But I just always assumed it was going to be a Paramecia. I guess because Fujitora and Green Bull were the two admirals that just joined, and Fujitora has a Paramecia, so I assume Green Bull would have one as well, okay? And then the original admirals are the ones that have the Logias, okay? It doesn't matter either way. Fujitora is insanely powerful with his devil fruit, regardless of whether or not it's a Logia, okay? But it is weird that Fujitora has the only Paramecia out of all of the admirals, although maybe he does have a Logia. Who knows? We're reclassifying devil fruits, it seems, so, if Luffy can have a mythical zone, maybe it'll find out later. Vegapunk will reveal that, like, actually, we've learned a little bit more about gravity, and we've discovered that gravity is in fact an element. It should be a Logia this whole time, so who knows? I guess we'll find out. But anyway, yeah, so as for the Logia classification of the Mori no Mi, think of it in a lot of the same way as Aokiji's Hiya no Mi, okay? Where, yes, there's a lot of Logias like Eneru's Goro Goro and like Kizaru's Pika Pika, where they become an element that is intangible, or not at least, you can't actually touch it as being a human being, okay? I guess technically, electricity and lightning and light, it does technically have matter. I guess now I'm getting into a physics department that I'm not part of. Does light have matter? Do photons have matter? I don't know. I would assume they do. It's just that humans can't really interact with it in that way, okay? So if you try to attack Kizaru like all the supernovas did at Sabaody, like if you take a giant axe and try to cut Kizaru, you're just gonna pass right through him because he's made of light. Same thing with Eneru, you're just gonna pass through him and get electrocuted in the process, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of Logias that are like that, and Aokiji's is different, though, because he does become a solid chunk of ice when you hit him. It's just that it doesn't hurt him unless you're using Haki, and he can reforge himself. In fact, you might even argue that Aokiji's ability to turn into ice and then, you hit him actually works in his favor, because, like, Luffy goes to punch him, he turns into ice, Luffy's fist connects, it shatters Aokiji, but then Aokiji just reforms around Luffy and then just freezes him like that. Okay, so it actually gives him a lot more opportunities for counterattacking, because you have to come in physical contact to shatter the ice, and then he could just freeze whatever limb or whatever weapon you use to hit him with, okay? So think of it sort of like that with Green Bull, where Green Bull is nature itself. He is literally the forest. So last chapter, we saw him turn into a giant tree, which for the thumbnail of this video, I just went ahead and used the Timber Lord, so thanks to Keiru, who drew that and put his his links below, and then, he's the artist for One Piece D&D, and he does an amazing job. It was just his birthday a couple days ago, so wish him happy birthday. But yeah, so in One Piece D&D, for one of the arcs, we fight against a warlord, the Devil's Luck Pirates, and here we are back here, yeah, and we fight against this giant timber lord who's a giant tree man. So there we go. It's just it all comes full circle, right? Absolutely. So yeah, he turned into a giant tree last chapter, and we didn't really see him fight all that much. We saw the scabbards like hacking off parts of his body, like his branches and everything, but he could just regrow those branches, okay? From what we've seen, him just walking around is enough to just create new plant life, okay? And people were saying, like, this isn't just creating new plant life. He also has to be creating, like, new soil as well for this to actually, happen, okay? It's the weirdest thing where you have a character like Green Bull that literally speaks of, you prejudice is necessary for stability in the world. Discrimination needs to exist for this reason. Even with that being his philosophy in the world, which is really messed up, he's sort of, in a weird way, helping Wano, because, he's now, like, Udon is back to being this huge forest, and the area outside the flower capital where he's fighting the scabbards and Momonosuke and Yamato right now is also just him transforming into that giant fighting tree and forest with the fists and everything. Like, there'll just be a giant forest outside of Wano forever, outside of the flower capital, that just has these giant fists, and it'll just be like, yeah, that's a forest that exists in Wano now. It's pretty cool, and so the animals can come back, and it's like, like they have food again, and that'll help the people of Ebisu Town. Like, imagine this. Imagine, like, after the battle is over, I don't know what's going to happen with Green Bull, if he's going to kill one of the scabbards or if he's just going to leave or whatever, but if Green Bull, like, he's not there anymore, eventually he's going to leave Wano. Something's going to happen, and then, like, the people of Ebisu Town just wander out of their hovels, and they're like, oh my god, the forest has returned. This is a dream come true. Oh my god, apples, food. Oh my god, it's not polluted anymore. Like, that would actually be a saving grace for them, okay? Which is the whole reason I thought, like, for the longest time that Green Bull was going to be a nice person, but I completely forgot about the whole idea of what Oda was doing with the admirals, right? So whatever ability the admirals have, just think of the exact opposite, I was going to say this is like, imagine if you have a character that's, like, terrified of fire and give them the Mera Mera no Mi. Like, imagine if Sabo was terrified of fire and then he ate Ace's devil fruit. But it's not even like that. It's not even like a fear of it. It's like whatever. I'm trying to think of the exact idea. This would be like, okay, this would be like if a character had the ability to heal any illness, okay? And it's like this very useful ability that can end suffering for so many people. Like, let's say they had the ability to cure any type of cancer or chronic illness, but they had the ideology of Green Bull, where it's just like they don't care about human life. So they have, like, the ability to end suffering, but it's just like they don't have any empathy for anybody. Like, it would be something like that. And I kind of like the way that Oda goes with that, okay? Because, it's a common trope in anime, and it happens in One Piece too. Pretty much every anime is like, oh, there's the hot-tempered character that has the ability of fire, like Bazby in Bleach, one of the Stern Ritter H, the Heat. He's this really hot-headed, really, like, punk rocker kind of guy, and he has the ability to manipulate fire. Natsu from Fairy Tail, he's all fired up and he's got fire, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's a character that's really cool and stoic and collected, and he has the ability to manipulate ice. It's like, it's nice to every once in a while twist that around, okay? But here's the kicker, okay? Green Bull has one of those devil fruits that has so many damn applications. Like, so many. Okay, last chapter, he turned into a giant tree, man. So, like, if you try to hit him while he's a tree, even if you don't use hockey, you could hit him, and a giant hole could form in his trunk, but then he could just, like, regrow it or whatever, okay? But he could also turn into anything else. He could turn into a bush. He could turn into a flower garden. So if you go to punch him in the face, his face could just turn into flower petals and just flow away in the breeze, and then the flower petals could like surround you, and you'd be like, what's going on? And then he'd like transforms around you, kind of like Aokiji did when he like froze Luffy back on the well, actually it was different in the anime and the manga, but back on Long Ring Longland in the manga, back when Luffy punched him and Aokiji just like appeared around him and just grabbed him and then just froze him solid. Green Bull could do something like that. You go to punch him, turns into flower petals, the flower petals dance around like using petal dance in Pokemon, and then the petals just coalesce back into his form, and then he turns his fingers into like roots and like stabs you and then like sucks out all your nutrients. Like that's the kind of shit he could do, okay? Like there's a endless supply of like poisonous plant life, okay? And also, by the way, keep in mind, he has the power of the forest fruit, not the plant fruit, okay? That's important because the way I'm viewing this right now, it's anything you can find in a forest is under his domain. Anything that grows in a forest. So yes, trees, shrubbery, flowers, fruits, vegetables would be included in that too. But also, what about fungi? All right, what about fungus and mushrooms and stuff like that? Now, technically speaking, there is a mushroom devil fruit. It's actually used by Wapple's brother, Musuru, and that was only in one of the movies, though. That was in, like, the abridged or remade version of the Drum Island arc. It was the 9th movie, which, by the way, I still have to get back to talking about all the One Piece movies. But anyway, he's non-canon, I would assume. He shows up in some of the other movies, but they're also non-canon, so I'm going to assume that's not. But even so, there's still, like, some devil fruits that kind of cross over into the category of other fruits. You know what I mean? Like, there's some abilities that kind of like, okay, you have this ability, but I can also access this ability. Like Akainu, for example, like, he has the power of magma, but just tangentially, he also has the power of heat and fire. Okay, so Akainu sort of has the power of magma, but he also has the power of ovens, Netsu no Mi, and also Ace's Mera to an extent, all right? Same kind of situation. So even if you want to say the mushroom or the spore fruit is really still canon, it's out there somewhere, I don't think that really precludes that Green Bull could not use fungus or something like that. So he might turn into a giant mushroom, or he can summon a mushroom to, like, attack you, like that, what was her, She-Mage from My Hero Academia, from Class 1B. She has the quirk that can, like, summon mushrooms. He might be able to do something like that. And there's, like, mushrooms out there, like the death cap, that can kill you in, like, 5 minutes, okay? So, he might have abilities like that. Not even going that far, he could have, like, poison oak, poison ivy, all that stuff, not the DC character, but, like, actual poison ivy. Have you ever touched poison ivy or been afflicted with it? Yeah, I did once. I was down my grandfather's when I was a little kid, and I had it all over my body, and it was not fun. Not fun for poison ivy. Also, something else that happened down my grandparents is they had, like, a little potted cactus once, and I was like 5 years old, and I just assumed it was like a fake cactus, so I went to go touch it, and it was a real cactus, and I got, like, needles in my hand, and my hand went numb for a while. So, hey, guess what? Cactus is a plant. I guess technically it doesn't grow in forests, it grows in deserts, but close enough. I'm just going to assume that any form of plant life is under Green Bull's domain, okay? So, if he just wants to be like a bruiser, if he just wants to get into a fisticuffs battle with you, like in the last chapter, he just summons a bunch of trees like Hashirama Senju style that have, like, the giant fists, or he turns into a giant tree and just like, all right, let's fight, But, you think of all the other ways he could fight. He could just summon a bunch of poisonous plants to, like, surround you. He can control the vines, and the roots of a tree. We've already seen him do this. He could literally just summon a bunch of poison ivy or poison oak and just wrap it around your body like a cocoon, okay? I think with poison oak and poison ivy, isn't it like it secretes a type of, like, sap or poison or something? Like there's a liquid or some kind of resin that it, like, emits. So what if he just has complete control over that? What if he just, like, makes the resin and just, like, splashes you with it or whatever, right? We've already seen how terrifying he can be. Like, his go-to method to fight, outside of just turning into a tree man and fighting you, like, with his fists, is just using the roots, because his whole body, like his fingers, his feet, his toes, can just turn into these roots that just snake around and then stab you and then suck out all of your moisture. So kind of going along with the Suna no Mi, Crocodile's Logia, but, like, even more applications than that. Actually, kind of the exact opposite of the Suna no Mi, that we actually think about it, because his power is desert, this is the forest. And Green Bull even mentioned himself that, like, here's something interesting. So he mentioned that this power rivals that of the sea. The sea, gives life to so many things in this world, and now I have the power of forest, so it kind of rivals that. I wonder if that is setting up, or if that is foreshadowing the existence of an ocean devil fruit. If there's a forest fruit, an ocean fruit might not be off the table. And that actually reminds me of Artor and Gemini's Return to Reverie fan chapter that they did, where they gave Eam the ability to control water. And I'm thinking, well, maybe not just water, but maybe like a devil fruit that just has the ability of the ocean. Okay, I don't know if Eam would have it or if such a thing would even exist, but it would be interesting to think about, okay? Also, something I keep forgetting to bring up, but when Green Bull and Fujitora fought against Sabo and the Revolutionary Army commanders at Reverie, I keep forgetting to bring this up, but, like, Sabo has the power of fire, and Green Bull has the power of a forest. So you would think initially Sabo would have the upper hand there because, he could just, like, torch the entire forest. But you also have to imagine, like, he has the power of a forest, so there's a lot of water in that. Like, like, if you go outside and try to light a tree on fire, like, if there's a substantial amount of water in the tree or in the plant, it's not going to light. You can't just take a green leaf and then a lighter and then just, like, and then the leaf just goes up in flames like that. It has to be dried out. It has to be, that's the reason wildfires are such a big deal in California, right? I was at Yosemite, but I was sick when I was there, and also half of it was on fire, so I couldn't end up seeing it. Yeah, that's the situation out there, because everything is so dry in California, but that's how it has to work. So I don't even know if Sabo's fire would be, I mean, like, it would definitely do damage to Aramaki, to Green Bull, but it wouldn't be as easy as just, like, Sabo using one fire fist, and that just lights all of Aramaki on fire. And he's like, what? No! I don't think it would be that easy, because controlling the forest kind of gives you, once again, a tangential control over water to an extent, because none of those plants can exist without moisture, okay? He's creating green foliage wherever he goes, and vines, and bushes, and flowers, and giant trees. There has to be water in them, okay? That's how it works. That's how things exist, okay? I don't know. What else could he use? Chlorophyll? Chlorophyll is what gives plants their green color. That's probably poisonous if you give enough of chlorophyll to some. And everything is technically poisonous. Even water, if you give enough water to somebody, can, become lethal, right? So, he controls poisonous sap. Oh my god! I just realized Aramaki has an endless supply of maple syrup. That's how it's going to end. I was wondering for a long time how this was all going to end. The final battle of One Piece. Luffy just ends up stuck in maple syrup, frozen in time, frozen in thought. He remains there for centuries until the year 2555. Dun 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 dun. Did anybody get that reference? Probably like a few of you, and that's mostly from South Park. But if you did, good job. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, what else can he do? What can he do? He can basically travel on the ocean. Like, how, well, he could fly. Yeah, that's another thing. He could just fly. We saw him with the flower. He just generates a flower and just has the flower spin. So that's like, now he has like complete control over it to the point where it's not even things that exist in real life. Like there is no type of flower that spins like a helicopter propeller that allows you to fly. There's like giant, like he could also probably create like giant dandelion spores or whatever and just float on them. Just like how spores in the wind will like float. He could probably do something like that, but he doesn't need to. He can just make a flower that spins really fast and then just fly through the sky like a helicopter. He could make like lily pads or vines or seaweed and just probably walk on top of the water. So, I mean, the water's really not that much of a weakness to him, okay? If anything, the water could probably help him. There are certain plants that can grow using like seawater or salt water, right? Like mangrove trees can kind of do that. I think mangrove trees like kind of grow in swampy areas, and I guess it's sort of like salted water, so they can like suck up the salt, I guess, a little bit. So there are plants that do that. There's the Sargassum Sea, which is around like Bermuda and everything, like the Caribbean, that area there. There's just a bunch of like algae. He can control algae. Oh my god, like the number of ways he could kill you are like infinite, okay? If One Piece was a seinen manga, we would probably see more of that, you know, where he just like approaches you and doesn't even fight you. He could just like cause like this like really poisonous like moss or algae or mushrooms or something just to grow around you and just like not even inside you, but just like on your skin. Like you just look down and you just have like this green goo just growing all over you. It's like you have leprosy or some shit and you're like, ah, you know, like he could just do that, you know. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Has anybody seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Oh my god, they're like pod people. He could make pod people. Maybe, I don't know. He could literally, you know, there's certain plants and stuff and parasites and viruses that, you know, like control like dead insects and shit. We might have something like that here, where what if like Aramaki, like back at the Udon prison, he killed Queen and King, and now he has them as like plant zombies and just like, Zuma, 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 you know, just like plant zombies, all right? That's a thing that could exist. It's One Piece, and he has the power of the damn forest, okay? Oda is really pulling no punches here, okay? Oda is going full steam ahead with this. You know, and it's like, you know, now it's the Admirals, you know, the Yonko. I mean, yeah, we still have Shanks, we still have Blackbeard. I don't think Luffy and the Straw Hats are going to fight against Shanks in a normal way, though. Maybe like a Davy back or something. Blackbeard's obviously, they have to fight him, but it's like now it's like a battle with the Admirals. Okay, so remember that opening a while back? I think it was Hard Knock Days that had like, you know, Sanji fighting Kizaru, and then Zoro's fighting Fujitora, and then Luffy's fighting Akainu. You know, we might literally get to a point where, yeah, it might not just all be the Straw Hats, but like the Straw Hats plus like Kid and Law and maybe some other characters are like just going up against the fucking Admirals now, right? And that's just what they're doing, right? Because that's like the major threat there. We saw Aramaki wipe out two of Kaido's All-Stars. Now, granted, they were injured, and they were also probably with Sea Prism cuffs because they were in the prison and all that stuff. But still, the way that Aramaki spoke about that was like, you know, oh, I couldn't save face to the Marines if I was killed or defeated by a couple of commanders, of mere commanders of a Yonko. So it's very, very abundantly clear that Aramaki is sort of on a class of his own, that mixed with his philosophy on life, which I have to do a whole separate video about that. This is just a video talking about trees. Again, trees too. By the way, I was planning on making this video like yesterday, like before I went to bed last night. I'm like, yeah, I'm just probably going to do a video on the tree fruit today, tomorrow. And then I wake up and then I saw that Grand Line Review Liam already made one. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess there's going to be 2 tree videos today. Yeah. I mean, it's a little strange, I have to say. I mean, Liam's making a video about forests when he lives in Australia. There's like 1 tree on that entire continent. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's some Australia humor for you there. Okay. Well, anyway, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah. I have jellyfish facts, so we'll go into that. But thanks for watching, everybody. Yeah. Jellyfish facts. Welcome to Jellyfish Facts. Jellyfish Facts. All right, so first off, I must apologize. It seems I have gotten a jellyfish fact wrong. Gasp. Gasp. I'm just getting this information last minute off of the internet for this segment that I started a year ago. No, so I erroneously stated that Nomura's jellyfish was the largest jellyfish species in the world. That is not actually true. The largest jellyfish species, as many of you loyal listeners mentioned, was the lion's mane jellyfish, pictured here in all of its lion mane glory, okay? And yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty large jellyfish. Now, Nomura's jellyfish is pretty big as well. They're about the same size, but just on record, yeah, the lion's mane jellyfish is longer. It can be at 7 feet long, and its tentacles can reach over 120 feet, or over 36.6 meters. Okay. Also, something interesting is all the other jellyfish we've discussed up until now are usually indigenous to like tropical areas or very warm climates, mostly around Australia. Okay. Yeah. By the way, why am I doing jellyfish facts? Liam, you should be doing jellyfish facts. Get on it. Okay. But no, seriously, they're all like around you know, Australia or like tropical areas. This jellyfish is actually in the Arctic, so you can't escape them. You could go anywhere in the world, there will be jellyfish waiting to sting sting you, all right? So they're mostly found in the Arctic, around like the Scandinavian countries, or even further north than that. Now, they do drift into lower latitudes, even as far south as into like the eastern coast of the United States, as well as like into the Baltic. However, the way they reproduce, the water has to have like a certain amount of salinity to it. And so, like, when they get into the Baltic, the salinity is not high enough for them to actually reproduce, okay? But they do drift down every once in a while because they're jellyfish. There was a case actually a couple years ago, or back I think in like 2010, where I guess one of these lion manes jellyfish ended up in pieces on a New Hampshire beach, which is important to mention. Even if the body is ripped to shreds, if you come in contact with like the venomous part of the jellyfish, the part that stings you, the tentacle, even if it's like not connected to the main body, it can still sting you. It won't kill you, but it can still hurt. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's interesting also because most of the predators of jellyfish are other jellyfish, as it just happens. It seems like they mostly eat zooplankton and other jellyfish, okay? So it's just a brutal world out there in the jellyfish community, you know? So anyway, yeah, I don't know. A giant jellyfish might have gotten eaten by something else and got turned like shredded and then ended up on the beach and people got stung by it. Or maybe like a boat propeller hit this jellyfish and just, you know, just shredded it that way and then it ended up there. But yeah, so that's the lion's mane jellyfish. Looks pretty epic, and just be careful. If you're swimming in the North Pole, like even Santa Claus is not safe. All right, well anyway, thanks for watching everybody. Later, signing out. Bye. I still got the jacket.